Very good evening, everyone. I hope my voice is audible, loud and clear. A quick yes or no in chat would be great. Okay, so we have some of them were already in. Audience, I hope my voice is audible. A quick yes or no in chat would be great. Thank you. Okay, all right. I see Mr. Saurabh. Good evening, Mr. Saurabh. Good evening, Mr. Kamal. Good to see you. Okay, so we will most likely start off today's presentation in about 5 minutes. We're just waiting for a few more of the audience to join in. So while we wait, I think I see a bunch of them already here. Um, how about we have a small conversation on chat? I'd like to know what is it that you're expecting from today's session. I'm sure all of you received the a brief on what the webinar is about. But what is it that you're expecting from today's session? What you'd like to hear from our speaker? You can drop your comments on the chat. Okay, some responses on chat from Mr. Deepesh. Yeah, yeah, but that would be covered, Mr. Deepesh. Okay, audience, can we see a few more responses on chat? Okay, all right. Some responses on chat. Okay, all right. So Mr. Ashish, yes, it will probably cover some stats. We will look at it as the presentation goes ahead. Mr. Kamal, we are looking at IT infrastructure management on the whole, but Pulseway specializes in RIM, it is remote infrastructure management. I think we can start off in about 2 minutes. Okay. Very good evening, everyone. I hope my voice is loud and clear. Just checking again. If there's any issues, please let me know. All right. Yeah. Okay. Quick introduction about myself. I'm Siddharth Nandakumar. I handle product marketing at the company that I represent, that is Websol, and I will also be your moderator for the day. So before we actually head into the presentation for the webinar, I'd like to run you through a few short slides of the company to set the foundation today for the webinar, followed by which we will introduce the speaker for the day and hand it over to him for the topic in itself. Moving forward. A quick introduction, the evolution of our company, that is Websol. We were in fact part of Wipro's domestic IT business. Back in the days, your dot matrix printers was something that was very popular, and we were in fact the pioneers when it came to dot matrix printers. So over the years, the company did that on the business end. We also specialized in printer peripherals, that is toners, cartridges, and other supplies. And in 2000, the company actually decided to come out of Wipro and form a separate entity in the name of Wipro ePeripherals, which later got to be known as Web Solutions. So the company actually moved forward with the managed print services model. More on that as we move ahead. And over the years, we had our exclusive manufacturing setup that is based in Himalayas, Baddi. And in 2017, we launched our digital services portfolio, which covers process automation and other solutions. Moving on to 2023, fast forward, our most radical change yet, we underwent a complete rebranding initiative, wherein we now go ahead with a new complete outlook, and we are known by the name of Websol, and we have with that a new solution portfolio as well. More on that as we move forward. All right, a slide to show you some highlights of the company. We come with over 24 years of industry expertise. We serve to over 500 plus enterprise customers across India, and we're present in over 2,500 locations that we're deployed at. We also won the Company of the Year award by CIO Tech Outlook Review for our process automation solution, and a quick look at some of our core customers. All right, moving forward. So as I was mentioning, with the whole rebranding, our solution, our service portfolio also required a radical change. We now go by the name of FluidWorks, which is our workplace suite, under which we have an umbrella of offerings, which again go by the name of Fluid, which replicates our rather fluidic approach that we have. Our solutions are mostly tailored and scalable for each and every end user who is unique. So let me quickly run you through each of them as we move forward, moving to the next slide. All right, so starting off with Fluid Pro, this is our state-of-the-art managed IT services offering, purely designed to modernize your IT infrastructure and heightened productivity. Over here, we provide a range of services, including managed SOC, managed NOC, remote infrastructure management, IT infra as a whole, and IT asset management, all aimed at keeping your operations running smoothly and efficiently. We have a dedicated NOC center as well based in Bangalore. Moving to Fluid Print. Now, this is our signature offering, wherein I'd earlier mentioned managed print services. So what we do here is we offer solutions for your print infrastructure, right from choosing the right kind of printers, deploying it, and we also take care of it entirely. So what we do here is we essentially offer an OpEx model, and you will be simply charged per print. That is based on the number of papers you print, you will be charged on that end. We are also extremely brand agnostic at this end, so we do not have a specific model. Based on your requirement, we'll be able to deploy the models that you require. Moving forward, FluidMap, this is our IT asset management service. So as I mentioned earlier, with the sprawl of IT assets and printers across the organization in different locations, you would essentially want to also manage them remotely. So how do you do that? In terms of asset uptime, downtime, your toner levels, cartridges, all of that can be simply taken care by our solution, that is FluidMap, which is our state-of-the-art IT asset management tool. This is simply deployed in your network and you will have admin access, and you will be able to monitor all your assets on the go. Moving to Fluid Trail, which is our workflow automation solution. So what we do here is basically we deploy a process automation solution based on your requirement for various departments. We have use cases for HR, procurement, finance, and so on. We also have a GSC solution, and a one-stop solution for your filing and reconciliation, which takes care of e-waybill, e-invoicing. We also have ready-to-go API integrations as well on this end. Now, we also have presence on the retail end, but I will not be diving into that. Moving forward. All right. So since we won't be able to do a demo or anything as such due to time constraints, I'd like to quickly launch a poll for the audience here that is with us. I would like to know if any of you are actually exploring solutions for managed IT services. I hope all of you are able to see the poll on your screen. I will leave this on for the next few seconds. Those of you who are interested can simply select it, and I will make sure our team reaches out to you in the next 1 or 2 working days. Please note that we'll have to understand what kind of requirement you have, and we'll be able to schedule free consultancy calls. Audience, if you have any questions on the go as the presentation goes ahead, please feel free to use the chat, or you can also use the Q&A section. We'll be taking up questions towards the end of the session. All right, I will end the poll in about 5 seconds. Okay, thank you all for your inputs. Moving forward, now this is actually our webinar agenda, as you've probably seen it on the invite. We will look at this further, but let me quickly give you an introduction on this end. We will be running through some IT infrastructure management trends in the last 1 year. So a quick glance into the current IT infrastructure trends in the industry, followed by patch management, and we also have IT automation in brief. All right, so without any further ado, let me introduce the speaker for the day, Mr. Kizar Khan. Kizar Khan is the Solutions Engineering Director at Pulseway, and he leads the pre-sales solution engineering team. With over a decade of experience in remote monitoring and IT infrastructure management, Kizar is known for his ability to simplify complex technical concepts into actionable strategies. His passion for innovation and practical approach makes him a sought after speaker. Kizar's talks are filled with real world insights, empowering organizations to confidently tackle modern IT challenges and harness the full potential of technology. Now, aside this, Kishore is also generally busy with other webinars as well. He, in fact, has another webinar right after this. So I'm sure the audience is looking forward to directly hearing from you, Mr. Kishore. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Darshad. I hope everybody can hear me.
Yeah. Audience, quick yes or no on chat, and he can go ahead. Okay.
Sounds good. And just trying to switch on the camera here. Just give me some access, Darshad. That would be great.
Just a moment. Yeah, I think it should work for you now.
That's the usual technical glitch. Hello, everybody. This is Kaiser Khan. I'm part of the Pulse as a solution director for the engineering team here. It's an honor to be part of this session, and it's of course working with WebSol has been a tremendous amount of value add and opportunity to see that what we can bring into the table. And of course, being able to offer something from our side as what we can talk about and something that we get to see a lot these days. So thank you all for joining in. I'm quite excited on talking about how the IT infrastructure comes with the picture. How does the trend look like? How we get to automate these things that makes the IT administrator's job and the life of an employee much easier, a lot more focused towards work and less challenges around the support tickets, where we could be more proactive rather than being reactive on that side. Of course, especially the India market, and when we get to see a lot of things, the optimization that we get to see from Microsoft, the amount of tools that come in, definitely there is, but it's just too many tools that we have. And then the challenge is that there's a lot of learning, training that comes with the picture. Sid, if you could go to the first slide for it, that would be great. So some of the key things that we're looking at is one of the key things when we tried to put in this on the slide and wanted to kind of bring this as a visualization towards IT, we started focusing and narrowing it down to a specific items there. We noticed that there's IT infrastructure trends that looks like around the increased focus around cybersecurity that we have. Adoption towards the native technology is growing rapidly, and that's mainly because people are working from home. We've got hybrid work, and then we have people working, who are mostly traveling from one side to another, not necessarily working from the same office, regards to whatever that looks like. So there's tons of things. There's a lot of moving parts for their laptops to workstations to servers that we look at. There's tons of items, tools that come into the picture. As WebSol showcase the amount of things that they work towards, I was astonished to see the number of items that they already have. And this hasn't even touched the IT infrastructure much around those lines of things, right? The HR management to all of it. But really, how do we fix it on these side of things and having a dedicated team that could help you on the NOC services, etc. Of course, the idea is to be able to emphasize the experience of an employer, but somewhere, we had this debate around it, and we felt that it is the employee, but most importantly, we should also look in a perspective of an IT administrator. Tons of tickets that fall onto it. Every issues are different. They're supposed to be treated differently. There's a downtime associated to it. It could be a C-suite executive that we look at, or to uh, an employee who's working on a critical set of applications there, etc. So a lot of things come into the picture. If you could go to the slide, the next slide. Thank you. So one of the key factors that we noticed, and the importance of what patch management looks like, and where this all stands out to be, we have Microsoft who does the patching side of it. We have the automation side of it coming into the picture. We really see the value that brings in with the automated updates to everything. The challenge that we have is that when these updates are available, not necessarily that they're enforced in a way that needs to be deployed. Of course, we have group policies in picture, or we've got a WSS as a server in picture, or maybe Intunes that we are leveraging altogether. The amount of time the tools that are available present, it just gives a vendor fatigue or an IT administrator fatigue towards deploying things and being able to have a better visibility around it. We can't really ensure as to how these patches have been deployed. How do we pivot to that? How do we focus around it? The challenges that we see with the SMBs is that 99% of those machines that they have may or may not be patched in a way that it has been defined. Of course, everybody does patching, but the challenge is that we are unaware as to the visibility around it. And of course, as leaders who want to prioritize cybersecurity as a trend that we see is about 40% around what they're really looking at. And of course, as an SMBs, the 15%, that's the number that we see as per the, more of the statistics that we had pulled out. The programs that kind of comes in the picture, the kind of cybersecurity programs, all of it that has been leveraged and they're not patched, etc., that we look at. Next slide, please. Yeah. Challenges of patching. I think this is an important and topic that we kind of thought about when we start off putting some data around this. And we noticed that too many difficulties come in. I myself has been an IT administrator, used to work with various different companies, to name a few like HPE back in those Dell, etc., and the other ones for that matter. Um, while we were working towards these servers, back in those days, we had these scenarios while we had the iDRAGs and the ILOs that we get a chance to work with. And then we were leveraging WSUS to keep just the internal infrastructure for the optimization of the more of the schedule aspects. And especially with the testing phase that we looked at, we always had challenges back in those days. I was never exposed to an RMM back in those days, my time, but indulging myself and our team towards the WSUS and the SCCM side of it was something that we always preferred, and there's a lot of learning around it. But when we started exploring more and start seeing the challenges that we have, not all of these tools can help you out with everything in picture. The challenge is that there's a lot of learning, there's a lot of changes. There are issues reaching out to different teams, and then this could be errors from our side versus from the actual support team. And then it's a lot of back and forth that we look at. So we really wanted to bring in some more around the items that we could automate through our platform as well. And we figured out that adding these difficulties here and trying to kind of relate to the people that we have on the call, and I'm sure there is somewhere we actually relate to these set of challenges that we have always around scheduling to having these faulty patches. Thank God we've been saved a little bit these days with the faulty patches, but there has been a trend. There has been challenges. There was one for the Office 365 recently, and some time back we had a print spooler issues, specifically targeting, and there was a vulnerability that had come in. And hybrid environments is always a challenge because insufficient resources that delays all this patch deployment. What we are trying to say that is if we have a WSO server and we're trying to do patches on those devices, if they aren't really connected to the VPN, or maybe if the VPN service is down and they're using a SaaS tool to document their things and maybe working on a tool that not necessarily requires a VPN, and during that point, the WSUS does miss out on those updates. We really don't have, the flexibility to understand and have visibility towards what we're really looking at. And version controlling, of course, this is kind of um, changing as a trend with Windows 10's latest version to the Windows 11 that we have altogether. Of course, not everybody has transitioned to Windows 11. Um, at least what I understand. Maybe I might be wrong there. Maybe Sid could just pull up a poll around that one and maybe ask those questions. Uh, but time-consuming process. I mean, the last thing that we've been spending a lot of times with our customers too, and we try to understand the challenges they go through. There's always been a trend that we see that it is time-consuming. Everything is easy. The WSUS to SCCM to Intunes and the other ones. If you're using the native apps, if that is bundled with your platform, with your package there. The challenges is that you can't really see that how time consuming the whole process is. And when the exec team or the C-suite level, somebody walks up to you and asks you, hey, I'm looking at XYZ visibility because I have brought in a compliance manager to come in and do an audit for us. And these are the things that is required. There's like tons of things that you go back and forth, and you miss out on your day-to-day tasks, like a checklist that you have all together with you, and focus it on the things that may not, of a lot of attention at the same time. And again, hybrid environments leads to remote work, but of course, there's multiple analogies around that we look at. Next slide, please. Yeah, these are some of the patching numbers that we look at. So, of course, 90% of these attacks occurred after a patch was released. Again, it varies, right? Depending on the type of environment. We've seen customers. In fact, I got a chance to work with this customer. Is more of the military side of it. I wish I could give a bit more understanding on that. I'm just a bit hesitant there, so pardon me on that. But really, is that the whole itemized way that they were looking to, of course, they could do it, is that they'll have a DMZ zone that they look at. And any of these patches, for them, this may not be a big of a challenge because it is never after a patch. They only patch after about a certain releases. So they have a stage environment to a deployment phase that we look at. Every patch goes through a screening process, like a patch status that we look at, where you could pivotally define things around how you could approve items and how you could also focus around reviewing some of them based on the CVS's based scoring. CVS's based scoring plays an important, crucial role, I would say, like a rating, which is, of course, all of us, in fact, most of them, if not all, kind of leverages that a lot. Could be around 1 to 7 that we look at, which is decent, and the 7 to 10, or they say 8 to 10, but we always try to keep it like 7 there. Always comes down as the highest priority in terms of the vulnerability side of those things that we look at altogether. So that's one. So when I got a chance, coming back to this topic, right? When I got a chance to work with these guys, and of course they have this DMZ zone, and for them, this is not much of a problem. The problem was that a lot of manual work and somebody going on site, there's a cost for the fuel, the cost for the time, the cost of um, the things that needed to be carried in a secured manner altogether, with the whole surveillance side of it. Some of the things needed to be automated, and that is something that could be possible where you have solutions that could help you benefit around those. But really is attacks do occur after most of the patches that have been deployed, like the Office 365 error that came in, to a print spooler issue that arose, and then the other vulnerabilities, etc., that we look at. Right. And of course, victims, were aware of these attacks even before, it could come in. It's just they didn't know how to control it. We have come across, customers, and myself being one of the victim there back in those days. I would genuinely just go select one by one and just approve it. Knowing the fact that being certified around how the WSS works, the MCSE side, knowing how things work, being on these classes, the lab trainings, there's there's knowledge that's available, but there's best practices that we somewhere miss out, and we end up selecting all of it. You know, I hope it's not the case with anybody. It could just be me there, but just talking around the experience. We should approve those updates. So knowing the fact that this could be, could be a possibility, and we haven't really figured out a right way to do it, and it's in spite of having a stage environment altogether there. And of course, this number 74% companies who can't patch for fast enough for the attacks. This all leads back to the whole conversation that we're having, right? Where too many things, too many moving parts here for the patches to go through. Some people think it's the education side. People think that the machines are automatically patched. Windows is looking after it. I have got an endpoint security. I've got an EDR solution in picture. I'm amazing and I'm sorted around it. Windows patches may not be important. That's the last thing that I should be looking at. The reality there is that the EDR solutions are there, the anti-malware solutions are present to protect your machines, but they're never there to protect you 100% around that. Um, Now that when I say that, of course, we noticed one of the attacks that happened recently. It's just a day-to-day, challenges that will arise, and I don't necessarily want to take a name around that. It's a huge challenge that we had after a patch, but it's just how things work, right? Nothing is 100%. It's just how we pivot from the whole aspect of it, and that's something that people do. So here's such a problem, right? Companies who can't really patch fast enough on these devices because of lack of staffing, they think it's automated and we don't need a lot of people. And we understand spending money towards the IT side of it is just hard because it's cost consuming as a more of return on investment that we look at. But we miss out sometimes as in small to medium businesses. Sometimes large companies do have the compliance side of it. The auditors come in, etc., and then the process gets laid down altogether. The small to medium business companies, growing companies, there always is a challenge around that. And this is where we can't patch these machines fast enough, expecting that the machines automatically do that. And 62% companies who don't know if their machines are getting patched up. Again, goes back to the same concept we sort of spoke about it. It's always these numbers that kind of, give us a harsh reality at times, but not the case for everybody. But of course, there are a lot of companies who goes through the problem, and the only time that they realize it is when it's too late. Next slide, please, Sid.
So, Kizar, while I think I'd take a minute of your time, let me launch
Of
a
course,
poll quickly
yeah.
for you.
Yeah, I
Okay,
just noticed that we had the poll just showing up there. So love to hear something around that one.
right. So, audience, I hope you're able to see this window on your screen. Quick poll on patch management. How do you assess the effectiveness of your patch management process? Okay, I think I just saw all the four options light up at the same time. While this is almost like a multiple choice because there's obviously not one reason being there. Um, Audience, I leave this for the next 1 minute and I request maximum engagement on this.
Do I get to poll as well there, Siddharth?
I think you can, but I'm not sure. You could
Thank you for giving me a time breather. I just thought I'll grab some water as we speak. So I hope the session has been helpful as we progress, and these are some of the experiences we usually talk about.
Totally. Okay, so as I'm seeing this, I see the ones that are on the top are mostly number of vulnerabilities closed and time taken to apply patches. Okay, audience, can we have another five uh, responses on this? We only have about 10. Can we have another five?
Yeah, that would be amazing.
All right, we are at 12 right now. Three more guys. I think we can do that. Okay, we're moving slowly, but all right. I think 14 is good enough. 15 the next time, probably. All right, let me just share. Okay,
We
okay,
got
not
15
bad.
this time.
We got 15. Awesome.
Incredible. Thank you, everybody.
All right, I'm going to share the results for everyone. Kizar, would you like to add something to this?
I see the patch poll. So do you want me to like kind of talk a little bit around that
Yeah,
one?
if you'd
Uh,
like to add something, all right, else we can move to the next slide. No problem
uh,
at all.
no, I think I'm good. I
Okay,
think I'm good.
all right.
Kind of clearly gives the visibility, and I'm sure the audience that we have, you know, they know exactly what they're looking at. And I totally see the whole idea around the, applying of the patches, the amount of time, etc. So, which is great. I think, we are on par there.
No, awesome. Okay. All right. I will stop sharing and we can move to the next slide. Yeah. Over to you.
Thank you. This is such a good slide, especially, when we were trying to, I still remember when I was working with Sid and Amit and their team. I got some huge set of, details coming in from their side of the point because they get to work a lot with various different companies too, especially in the Indian market, and the type of offerings that they offer, and with the combined efforts and the strategies that I've come across and the challenges they have went through to achieve, the value add to it, and that has been tremendous. And that is something that, added a good amount of data for us, where we were able to kind of squeeze it and wanted to add something concrete there, so that we could present this to our audience, especially around security vulnerabilities, right? Talk about 25K new IT security vulnerabilities that were discovered back in 22. That's what the Statista was able to generate that for us when we talk about it. Alone back in those days, especially when we look at this, was a staggering number as a highlights that constant evolution of threats that come in and needed the vigilant security measures for that. And of course, when you look at organizations, must stay updated all the time towards the latest patches and the security side of things altogether there. That is something has always been one. And phishing and social engineering attacks. These are one of the most dangerous ones, and I always have debates around this with one of the core developers, like the main guys from a development team. He may be one of the developer guys, but he's like the guy who works on security side of it to being able to make changes to a lot of items and be able to create something out of the blue there. And I say that the attacks towards machines have lessened up because the attacks of the phishing and social engineering has gotten way higher now. Part of the reason I say that, and then you might be able to relate to me and tell me if I'm wrong there, and I'd love to hear something, and if you happen to have a poll on that, because right now, if somebody is looking to, leverage the vulnerabilities that's available on an end user's machine, they'd like to see their own ROI too. If I'm going to be able to send out a phishing attack onto your machine, not a phishing, but just a malware or Trojan, whatever we call it, we send that attack to a machine. It's all about how much data that I can gather and how much amount of information that I could sell out in the dark web. And what's the amount of benefit that I look at? Time taken to attack to versus being able to, gain something out of that altogether. And having something more on the phishing and the social engineering side becomes a bit more easier because the data talks about it 3.4 billion phishing emails that have been sent on a day-to-day basis. And when I say this is because hacking a computer, not hacking into a computer, but let me rephrase that, getting onto a machine and being able to, pull the data out versus getting your email addresses to, with some of the United States customers and obviously the social security numbers and the same changes for the Middle East and all of that. So gathering this PI-based data from every single set of people, because I might use my personal number while I have my corporate number, and I might share it here on the other side, a lot of tools altogether. Phishing attack with that are social engineer is always a challenge around that. These are nation state attacks that we look at. A lot of companies, around 80% of their 86% of their organizations believe they've been targeted by a nation state attack. This this is a bit questionable item, but it's such a vast topic to talk about. And then we were debating how do we go about it. But of course, there's such a challenge, and everybody admits to this and based on this that we see, IoT vulnerabilities that we look at. A new generation attack, right? IoT deployment is IoT has been expanding rapidly. The growth towards IoT set of devices is more like a disruptive towards the readily available set of machines, computers, etc., laptops, or portable devices that we could call it instead are part of. And this is where the game changer comes in. I believe one of the seminars that I've attended of one of the Google's the product managers around the AI algorithm that they were working with, the the whole idea around the IoT side of it is just drastic. The way it changes and what the feature set looks like towards it, automation towards not leveraging a lot of OS, therefore reduction of costs, etc. that we look at. So vulnerabilities around that's going to increase. And of course, 94% of executives who consider IT deployment to be a top strategy as a priority there. And still, we're going to start seeing vulnerabilities coming in on that. That's going to be a challenge in the near future. Disruption towards the operations, always a challenge as we discussed with these topics. And financial losses, I think the number doesn't really justify the cost, but it's more on the statista that we say as to what we received it, and because we wanted some decent numbers that should show up on a realistic view. But when I have spoken to a lot of our customers and some of the enterprise customers that we look at, and we saw this recent attack that took place with one of the largest security firm, the number 300K is a very small number to look at. Um, and on an average, and keeping aside some of the largest airports and the other ones, in spite of that, spite of that, we still have a huge number. This number doesn't really justify it, but of course, that's a recent one that we looked at. All right, Sid, I hope I'm not boring you up and asking you just constantly move the slide. I wish I had the
No, no,
control,
no, not at
but
all.
you're the boss. And this is where it leads towards the financial implications of poor patching. We talk about servers to workstations to machines that we have the operating systems on. IoT devices is another one that we look at, where we look at this firmware side of it as an update, as a patch that we want to call it. I'm unsure as to how the whole naming convention will be for it, but early loss for large organizations about 300K again, and I don't think this is the number is small. It's just me, but I might be wrong there. And the average recovery time after a breach is about 24 hours. This is it's again, it's very close to the reality there because we got a chance to work with some of our partner programs and we looked at a lot of automating around pen testing. We realize the challenge of why people don't really do a lot of pen testing around their environment just to be able to see as to what could be broken, just to keeping it in simple words, and how that can be fixed and how it can be better all the time. It's not how we fall and we get attacked, but how we take measures and how we define our access controls, ACLs that we call it, plays a crucial role that we look at. And an average span, which is somewhere between 19 to 24, is something that I come across. But as a more of a statistics, this we see, uh, I think statista is a word we see there. It's about 24 days that we look at average of the recovery time of the breach, and that's highlighting the wrong impact towards inadequate patching and a business continuity that we look at. Of course, the whole structure on patch we talk about vulnerabilities and automating these aspects, but really comes down towards how we have the security in place, like an MDR in place where we define things to, who looks after things for us, and an EDR and an XDR platform that allows us to be able to synchronize these things in a way that not only looking at a point-to-point level, but in a way on a more of a behavioral analysis between devices, correlating data all together there. And of course, we're looking at the OS side of it and part of it to be able to achieve that patching schedule because we don't want to leave those gaps there. And this is where our access control comes in. Best practices of patch management. And of course, we're looking to enhance the IT infrastructure. One of the key roles it plays within that is obviously to ensure that we prioritize on what sort of patches that are critical to the business, basically getting a visibility around items to be able to define them and itemize things accordingly. As an IT administrator, of course, I see the poll, it's amazing, and we know, the vulnerabilities that come in. And people who miss out on things, it's a large audience that we don't have, right? But we see that we need the lack of control or lack of visibility is something that we look at. So identifying those key metrics based upon CVE code or a CVSS based scoring that we look at that allows us to reduce those risks and cyber threat attacks and data breaches that we look at so that our data isn't sold outside. Therefore, we have different ways that we attack through phishing and those strategic based attacks that we look at. Patches needs to be tested. It's a good way to test it, and Microsoft says that there aren't a lot of challenges at this point, and that has obviously reduced a lot, which is true. But depending on the type of environment and really depending, like staging that environment plays a crucial role. Ensuring those patches are compatible there. We don't necessarily disrupt those, readily working itemized things that we look at that, kind of potential road towards a downtime or performance issues that we look at. A patch policy maintenance. This is where when we're trying to get more like a SOC compliant, or if as a company I'm trying to be a SOC compliant to, or maybe follow a specific CIFS based, security framework there to kind of define around GDPR or the other ones that we look at, or maybe ISO framework 27,000 the versions one, etc. Part of that metric. We really need to ensure we have a patch policy compliant coming into picture that allows you to establish a clear guidelines towards it with monitoring it, giving you visibility, a systematic approach that gives you an effective approach around those lines. And of course, the auditors come in, and it's easy to just share that information all together and just really automating the whole process there, right? Implementing these set of options that we talk about, one, two, three, and then really automating all of these things, just for the better visibility, be able to have an easiest way of transaction towards seeing these items there. And this takes away a lot of extra work from the administrator, IT infrastructure management, security teams, etc., because everything is automated around it, so that they could focus on the most important and the crucial part of it altogether. And I think that just covers up there, right? So growing number of devices. This is amazing, and we're in the India is a land of opportunities right now, and we're rapidly growing the way how we see it. Uh, it's just amazing to see how the start of the how is the growth of a startup these days. And every time, every day, we see Mumbai to Bangalore to Chennai to other places that we look at. Of course, Bangalore has become and has been and is growing as one of the uh, place for the IT side of it. The amount of startups in Bangalore are growing rapidly that we look at. You see places in different areas of Bangalore, and everybody's talking about startup. And we're bringing in growth, we're bringing in people, we're bringing in devices, of course, we're bringing in leaders and good workers, etc. There's constant growth that we look at in terms of devices because there's a lot of growth, especially in India. I mean, I just took an example of a city there, and when we look at bigger cities like Mumbai to the other ones, right? Uh, the of course, 94% of executives are like use considering these IoT-based deployment, and of course, CIS-based or the risk-based processes are in place. Things are changing, the way how machines work. Of course, there's drastic changes. People are preferring tablets, and of course, the environment looks like more of an IT base. We want to bring in those set of devices that kind of automates things. The office is supposed to be automated in a way of the entrance to what are the sensors are, this and that, and a lot of things come in there. The consideration, the growth factor of it by 2030, I think it's a bigger vision, and we will certainly see around that. And knowledge towards the workers who's more than three devices that roles. It could be um, the IoT devices as a later part, and it's already growing there, the servers to workstations to tablets that they use, the phones that they carry, right? Various different things. Might have a phone for myself, and then it might be an office tablet that we get to write things around it, and a laptop that we kind of work towards, and a server that we do some testing and VMs to kind of work towards that. I mean, just a very small thing, but as I see the amount of people that we have and the value that you guys bring in, you guys know this way better than that. Because this is something that you do it on a day-to-day basis. And I see this a lot more than all of us here. Next slide, please. Expanding the range towards these applications, the growth device usage amongst the knowledge workers, of course, 52% of knowledge workers utilize more than three devices that we emphasized on. The IT department faced in our managing multiple devices per users. The rapid increase in the SaaS application. This reminds us of Pulseway, actually. That's how it started. The strategy there was to be able to bring something that would allow um, our founder to be able to just view his machine and to just be able to switch it off right from the phone. We started off, we were like the one, the pioneers towards mobile first approach that we brought in and be able to automate things, and that's when the growth happened. Of course, now we see a lot more, and we see various different SaaS applications come in, and ours was one of the IT infrastructure, remote automation monitoring side of devices we brought in. There's a tremendous amount of growth that we look at every single day. The startups increasing. The IT. There was the reason why I spoke about Bangalore because there's a lot of software companies coming in, a lot of new tech that has been coming. Everybody's thinking about different technology altogether. It's just incredible to see that. And this is where the growth of SaaS is going to grow rapidly because on-prem solutions may not be enough because there's a lot of dependency to set up, to maintain, to keep them patched, to a lot of things on that side.
All right. So I think we'll give you a breather there. You've been
I appreciate that, Siddharth. You're amazing, by the way.
let's give him a breather. So, audience, I request all of you to go to the chat. Now, I will be launching a poll, but this is running on LinkedIn instead. So, I request all of you to click on this link that you're seeing on chat. This will redirect you to our social handle on LinkedIn. We have a live poll running there. This should take about a minute. I request all of you to go there and answer it and come back, and we can get back to the presentation. And on a side note, audience, just mentioning those of you who have questions, please pack them aside. You can put it on the chat or Q&A. We will take them up towards the end of the slides. Let me read out the question, a rather basic one on LinkedIn. What is your primary concern when automating IT infrastructure as a whole? Is it integrating existing systems, security vulnerabilities, data accuracy and integrity, or is it performance issues? Request all of you to take a minute or so there and we can head back to the presentation. Okay, I see some of them are already, we already have about 7 modes there. Okay. All right. So, Kishore, I think we can give them a few more seconds and then you can get
Absolutely.
back.
Yeah, I think I've just been boring them for the last few minutes. We need a breather for our audience, by the way, more than myself. I think I had enough breather for the very first time, but I think our audience does need some breather around it.
Also, audience, on a side note, those of you who'd like to see some blogs and stuff on the content, you can definitely hit the follow button and you can expect to see some polls and some engaging content from our end in the coming days as well. Okay, not bad. The votes have gone up on that. We have about 15, should be fine. And those of you still there can finish up and come back to the presentation. We will move to the next slide. Teaser, over to you.
Absolutely. Evolving the threat landscape, right? Interesting topic when we were working on the website Statista, .com EU. The 25K, the new IT security vulnerabilities discovered, this topic, and then we spoke of it like in one of our slides. It plays such a crucial role around it. It really boils down towards how we define our access controls. We talk about patch management, and again, this is somewhere a debate that we always talk around things that we think of patching as one. People do have a lot of things. We don't really understand that. We think that people miss out on things because they don't use proper security in place. They don't have enough security. They don't have these items, etc. The reality is that there are things that the access control is something that have not been implemented in the way that it needs to be. That is one. The second that we look at is the whole idea about automating some of the items that we discussed about. How do we pivot towards it? How do we really automate the aspects of patching, in a way that it needs to be versus just being done automatically, knowing the fact that what has been done and knowing where we stand and understanding the CVSS scoring around things, and all of that. So that's something that we look at. So the threat landscape is just too big. Of course, why, and the question around the automation. Um, Talking about one is the whole process of utilization of these softwares and systems. It's such a repeatable process that we look at um, as the environment. We come into the office, it's a process that becomes the same. We swipe our card, we come in, we open our laptop, we start our things, we set up our items, we go back and forth again and repeat. Now, if things aren't automated, that can be automated, that leads to a disaster because human error is one of the biggest challenges that we look at. One of our partner companies that I got a chance to work with when we talked about backup and the need and the crucial concern around what happens with even the Exchange, the Office 365 side of it. The data gets lost. Microsoft never owns, your data. You lose it, it's your data, you own it, right? And that's also comes with the picture. Human errors, they talked about it because a lot of times it's either rogue employee or an employee is not educated enough and then ends up deleting items and making changes on the machine also, I would say, and to the actual processes that you do on a day-to-day basis. And even as an administrator, right? We all are humans. Let's admit to it. We can make mistakes, and we will, right? And we have to around that. And this is where the whole process of leveraging a software and using that to kind of automate the entire process, the journey of it, and kind of supervising it makes it a lot more effective. And of course, the ROI is much higher at the same time because we have others focusing on something much larger and crucial around those things. Optimization, and this is the growth factor that comes in for a company and for an organization that looks at. And this is where it allows us to reduce the amount of time, that we do it on a great level altogether. Yeah, this is an interesting topic because this is something where our founder, especially on Pulseway, we talk about it. And this is where the growth factor came in, where we were at and what we want to achieve, the goal that was, and how do we gonna go there. That was the whole strategy that we thought of back in those days. And I got this amazing opportunity to start up working a little early with the company, the founder, etc. We noticed that a lot of tools actually do things to being able to automate a little bit about the process there to be able to patch them and etc. All of it. Nobody talks about the remediation side. We think about running the scripts and using like a task scheduler to do that may not be enough. What's the output of it? What happened with it? Was the execution output that we looked at? Was it successful in a way that we could automate the process towards self-healing is something that we look at. Auto remediation plays a crucial role towards deployment of scripts to also be able to automate the whole patching process. If it fails, what's the next steps? If the script that was triggered to look after the maintenance or being able to execute cleanup of a specific folder like a prefetch to also being able to define something around the cleanup towards a directory that we look at and a registry editor that changes the value for you. And then if an X value was changed to this, and if the outcome was an X and that is not the outcome that we looked at, we could automate that towards the ticket that somebody could then come in, take up the bigger load on that side of things. The same goes with various different patching aspects to the malware, etc., that we look at.
All right. Okay. So I think that brings us to the end of the deck. Now we do have some time, but Kizar, I will leave it to you. Do you want to show a short glimpse of the platform? I will fully leave
Yeah,
that to you.
yeah, I would love to, and I know that we are running short of time, and I would love to connect with everybody around that too. Given the chance that I'd like to reach out to your consultants that you're working with, and I'd love to kind of connect with you in person, see what we can. But really like to give you a bit of understanding and how our platform looks like. I'm sure there are tools that you've been using, some of them. I'd like to give you a quick glimpse around what we have around those things and that may be beneficial for you. And if you're interested, love to explore more and we are here to talk more on those lines as well. Yep. And I'm going to share my screen there, Sid.
Yeah, absolutely. Go
I
ahead.
know we have a very little time, but I may probably take like a few minutes. That should be suffice for me. And I know that time is crucial, of course. It's the end of the day and for all of us there. Not really for me and Sid. We still have like 4 hours to spend and Amit is gonna be, leading us on that side. But yeah, so there we go. So this is where we look at, especially on our tool side of things, and what we're really looking to accomplish as a platform. We're looking at remediation, self-heal, and the ability for us to be able to define things in a way that works without even, making the end user kind of interrupt there, right? The idea is to be able to streamline it and, of course, have information readily available, offering you a better visibility around that. We always try opening task managers to being able to see a lot of information around it, the IPs, the external IP. I mean, I could use our own mobile app from Pulseware. I could get an approximate location of the device that we look at with the external IP there. And then we could see some of the asset details, with the make and model of it, the serial number. Here, some of your inventory items are readily available for you because I could just pull this data out in a report altogether. A lot of information that you will do, like an msconfig to service.msc to opening up a task manager. You don't have to do that. Our overview section is going to give you a blueprint towards a real-time data around the stats to a CPU, to available memory, to the list of devices that you have, and you get to define some of your options as favorites, and this would easily allow you to just kind of put them up this way, and your scripts that are supported towards PowerShell, VBScript, Bash that we look at all together, allowing you to seamlessly remote in with our own proprietary remote desktop connection that could be connected onto a device. We leverage our own platform so we could easily connect onto it. We could also leverage our own native proprietary version of Pulseware RDP that can automate a way for you to access a machine, which is a tokenized method to connect to a device. Of course, this is an end-to-end encrypted connection that we look at all together when it comes to our devices altogether. And basic set of options, we always have it. We could just shut down these devices. This again, and an automated way of looking at things. We could remediate all of these things and with an amazing set of schedules. And there's a lot of things that we could talk about, and this is where our automation side of things. This is going to be more like a highlight of our platform, the automation side of it. There's tons of things that we could accomplish where we could remediate some of it. As an example, I could create a workflow in like less than a minute to be able to define an alert that comes in that a spooler service is off, and I could easily start it and ensure that it is working, and then remediate that if it does not by creating a ticket in your own ticketing platforms. We have our own, by the way, but if you've got yours, some of them we could integrate with it, maybe send out an email for you. Tons of items that can be accomplished with API calls, etc., that we look at. And that is something that we look at around the remediation side, deployment of any applications that you have got, like Adobe CAD, other applications. We use curl options that are available for you. That is something that you could add up directly around that, be able to execute something, store it, delete it, that could be accomplished. Also be able to store it within our own cloud, adding up your own applications and leveraging that more of a deployment cycle within some of the tools. Some of those computer setups, like an user onboarding that we end up doing, and then how we really look to define what we want to do there. I have like a golden image of the operating system that I push out to a lot of machines when once I get it from HPE, or I just happen to get these machines from HPE and then assign it to a user. The moment they log in, they have the agent there with more of an automated discovery and deployment, gets it deployed, get them patched with a lot of applications. We have over 300 applications and one of the largest repository of third-party apps, allowing us to seamlessly install. And if you've got your own applications, deploy them by hosting it, create restore points, and be able to send out those emails to various different people. Somebody needs to know around that, can be done. Visibility about reporting, we have that for you. That's something that we do really well. We have reporting tools like purpose built around Power BI and some predefined templates that are also available for you that can be accessed, allowing you to be patch compliant towards it. They've got some of the labels. You can create your own set of itemized things there. So you could easily see install patches, audit towards a lot of items there that is also available for you. Various different formats that I could grab from there if needed. Let's say we do all systems, or I could just filter it down to very simple items. Device level, I could narrow it down to a level that it could go all the way for a device to a specific site. That could be like Mumbai, Noida that we look at, Nasik, other places that I want to just categorize them and I've created them. The amount of time it takes for an IT admin to leverage our tool and be effective around it may not be more than a month. For you to be good at it, may not be more than a week, I would say. So this is something that we look at. And of course, there's a lot more visibility towards this side of things, towards applications. I mean, I could create a workflow for you if somebody's installing a U-turn. You don't even need like a tool that controls what applications are deployed. You know, even when they have the restrictions available there. We could notify you when these apps are deployed, and we could easily, send a message to the user. This is not the right set of tools that you need to be deploying, right? We're looking in a very controlled manner and a very respectful manner altogether towards its users, and we want to automate a lot of those items. No more teams, nothing, not really required. There's tons of items that you could start seeing and being able to pull some data around it, as you can see. It could also be available towards the antivirus integrations, towards EDR, something that we look at. Our partner products talks about MDR side of things. We also have that a bunch of integrations towards networking to backup to ticketing tools that we look at, DRaaS solutions in place, documenting tools, your password management to also be able to define things, how you could document your Office 365 OneNote data that a lot of you administrators are like keeping in different places. We could just do it together in one. And I could just do like a queue and it shows up everything. And it's incredible, by the way, to talk about it. We always talk about patches, the statuses, and how we do it. This is an incredible option that we have. Um, what's pending and what's the identifier? What's the status of it? Who has reviewed it? One of the guys from our team is fallen sick, unfortunately, today, but reboot is needed there. Category, what is it all about? Is there any machine that has not been patched with that? I could see that. If there's one, there aren't any right now, but we had skip this update altogether. We've in fact rejected some of the updates. This is wrong, right? That's an update that has a CVSS space scoring of a 9.8. In spite of having people, and then there could be something that misses out, and you review it and you make that as an action to approve it automatically, or we just want to be able to pull this out to on a pending stage. And maybe I could just put a note to her and asking, if you could review this once again, what went wrong, maybe is something that we look at. And of course, I could easily apply this to multiple policies. I could have like 5 different policies of patching towards XYZ set of devices that are in various different locations. With one single click that we look at, I could automate this process for the global rules there. Could be applied for all of their policies straight off. And of course, that leads to third-party apps to better visibility with our dashboards. We've got two dashboards, the web version and also an application-based. We could add up like additional widget right here. You get to see patch compliance status of it, what's next deployment cycle looks like, when is the next reboot looks like for you altogether. All your notifications have been seen here. Critical are the ones that needs to be highlighted. I could see that my email not working. This is weird, but I could just pivot directly from it and be able to work on it. But this feature that our customers really, talked about and something that they really like when they use a lot of these modules because it's like streamlined in a way. But regardless of where they are and they're working on something, and I could define like monitoring aspects towards event logs, security logs, etc., to domain controller, SQL, Exchange, etc., that we look at. If I'm looking for a machine, regardless of what view that I'm on, I could type in somebody's name and access their machine. And maybe that we look at, uh, we have a username. Let's say we got a lot of virtual machines. There we go. So it's an easy access of this view that's present for you in every single place. And my favorite set of options that I had tagged in here, the ability to remote in and be able to see scripts like PowerShell, VB script, Bash, and same goes for Linux and Mac. We never spoke of it, but we've got tons of options available for you. I could run like a speed test leveraging a platform and being able to trigger that to get like a bandwidth speed, and I could capture that data for you really in like a field that called custom fields that we look at. And we could do easy audits around Wi-Fi signals to last reboot, logged in user, BitLocker recovery key. I mean, gone are those days when you're trying to use like a purpose-built tools and you have to log in to remote in to be able to extract that information from the domain controller or from the Azure directory to share that with the user. I could pull that off without even going anywhere, and this could be accomplished just by your phone. I mean, we aren't even gone there yet. Almost 90% of the things can easily be achieved around that. And I've been saying this for over and over years together, and it still stays true to what we do, including taking a remote access there. And that's something that we look at altogether. Of course, we also talk about the other items that we look at within our devices is the ability where you could focus a lot more around role-based access. Not necessarily that every person needs to have the same level of access. Define role-based access controls that are available for you that could easily be set up and comprehended around it. Also by offering you API access, by inputting your account details, enforcing 2FAs to every single things that we look at, all the way there, tokenized way of remoting in that where the token is unreadable in a way that gets purged the moment it's accessed as a user there. Custom logos. Everybody loves to have their own logos. We have forbidden people doing it because obviously Avengers was too big and back in those days, and all we used to see was Avengers from various different people because a lot of people from our team were used to have access to it. So, but whatever you like. You could, the company name, you could put these things around the items right here at the top. Your report looks a lot more refined and defined, especially when you share it with your auditors, the C-suite team. The leadership team really loves the way the idea of what the company stands for and the branding, the logos. And when you have the reports around it with the branding there, it just feels amazing. And we have that covered for you. So that's something that we do. Again, security-wise, whitelisting IP addresses, you could log in from just specific ones. Um, you know, we always talk about geo-based IPs that we don't want to log in. It could be purpose-built specific ones that you specifically use from your organization perspective. Session timeout, password complexity. I mean, there are some basic things that we look at. Thing that I like of our platform the most is that the security is one of the most prior prioritized items that we look at. We look at being a SaaS tool altogether, which a lot of our customers are, scattered around various different parts of the region, different countries altogether, United States to Europe, to Middle East, and of course India that we look at. And we also cater to audience towards military, to the government side of it a little bit, where it's really looking towards using our tools different regions where it could be like an on-prem tool, etc., depending on needs and requirements that we have altogether. And that's about it for today. I hope this session has been helpful. I know I ended up taking a lot more time than we had promised to take from you all. And I truly respect and appreciate everybody's time today there.
Thank you so much, Kiza, for your time and efforts. That was truly insightful. I'm sure the audience had a lot of takeaways from today's session. Now, I know we've obviously crossed the time limit, but I just want to quickly check with the audience if they have any queries. Would that be okay with you?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, audience, if you have any queries or if you'd like to directly interact with Kizer, you can just use the raise hand feature or you can drop a yes on chat. I'd be able to give you those permissions and you should be able to talk. I did see a few of them would raise their hands earlier. There's any queries that you have related to the topic or anything related to the short demo, the glimpse of Pulseware that you went through, please feel free to approach us. Okay, I still see about 20 people who are with us. Any queries there is? All right. So I think we should probably take that as no queries and um, call it a day, Kizar.
Yeah.
So looks like it. And
Looks like we have taken more time than we asked for from the team, and I thought that could be one of it. But for the people who are there on the call today, we would love to connect with you. Please reach out to your team. Let us know if you'd like to have conversations with us and Sid and his team. We're looking forward to meeting you all there.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, audience, I think those of you who had shown interest in the beginning to some of our polls, the demo poll, my team will reach out to you in the next 1 or 2 working days. And post that, Kizar and his team will also be able to connect with you after that. So, I look forward to that. And you can expect a post webinar mailer with stream link and a little bit on the deck as well. So on that note, I'd like to end the day. Once again, thank you so much, Kizar, for your time and efforts. I look forward to seeing you very soon. And have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.